All right, welcome to I think this is our third Megadraft now in the last 2 months here. This time it's for Dominaria United League. So obviously I'm Richard here with Spaghetti Mitch, and we're looking at David S's Megadraft. So format here is every set in standard, one pack of each, and then they'll be building a 60 card deck. So we're starting with Dominaria United, which is the most recent set, and going backwards in time all the way to Midnight Hunt.
Yep. Okay.
So
Yeah. First, I just want to say no need to thank me. I purposely didn't make the top eight so Justin could get there, so I could be back at the casting desk. No, I'm kidding. Justin, who do we have in the top eight? Maybe we should name them here. We have
yeah,
Justin, Johnny, David, Jeremy, Ragu, Sean, Jordan, Dan, A.
yeah.
Some newcomers and some old faces that we've seen plenty of times
Yes.
before.
So we've got Justin, Johnny, and Jeremy who are seeming like regular top eighters now. They've made five or six each. Uh, David is the player that we're watching today. He's about to pick an Urborg repossession here over maybe Sprouting Goblin would be the other consideration. Um,
Both very solid.
yeah. So he's a player who was on our server last year. I was actually made it into the player of the year for last year. He took a bit of a break from Magic. He was off the server, came back this summer for the Brawl League, and he's back making top eights again, like he was doing last year. So this format, the evaluation is different because we're drafting a bunch of different sets. So cards that are standouts in Dominaria United, possibly because of domain, might be a little less good in the context of the whole set. But Urborg Repossession is just a really excellent card. Um,
That's a good point. We might be looking at this first pack here thinking, oh, yeah, we're drafting Dominaria United. Well, Domain's not going to come together like you're used to in the
yeah,
past couple
so a
months.
card like Sunbathing Rootwalla, which was usually a 7/7 on demand in Dominaria United, still a good two drop, but how likely are you to consistently have more than three types of land? Still good, but a lot of these domain
I'd like
cards
his pick here.
are getting a little worse. So it looks like he's looked at Frostfist Strider over possibly Phyrexian Rager as the next best card. Frostfist Strider. Oh, okay, he did take the Rager. He was deciding
It's
between
a
those two.
fine pick. The Frostfist Striders it's got a leg up on a lot of similar cards from past sets.
Yeah,
It's not the most amazing, and Dom U is by itself, but yeah, once again, we're doing a chaos draft here.
yeah. Rager is solid. Um, it's also the Frostfist Strider is double blue. It's a bit more demanding to cast. Rager's easy to cast. If you're two colors, you're basically always going to be able to have it on turn three. Always good. So
It's a fun pick. Yeah.
yeah, this pack's a little weaker by the looks of it. We'll see what he's going to lean to here. So I know him from drafting normal sets. I know he's a very disciplined drafter a lot of the time. Also drafts with preferences, which can be a strength, but in a format like this where it's wide open and there's no defined archetypes or things, a lot of the usual usual drafting habits kind of go out the window. So it looks like he's selected Love Song of Night and Day, which is a nice little aggressive card here. Make a
Yeah.
flyer, distribute two counters. If you're really down and out, and in need of cards, you sometimes do the first option. Um,
Yeah, it's gonna
but
fit in any deck that has white in it. There's no
yeah,
point in
so,
yeah, you can just take it. We have Niall here, which is an interesting card just because we talked about the domain thing just before. Same as Mahira's Outrider, they're gonna
yeah.
perform quite a bit worse than we're used to drafting Domu.
Yeah, so in a Dominaria United draft, if you got to your fourth pick and there was a Niall and a Miria's Outrider in the pack, you'd be pretty excited. But here they're not as high picks. I mean, Miria's Outrider is still a good card. Um, card that I'm looking at is Essence Scatter. You know, Probably going to be the most
That's the
solid
card.
performer here. Niall, if you can't get domain, it scries when it hits, or different slight differentiation on scrying, but still a good card. But looks like he did take the Essence Scatter, which I had pointed out was probably the most
And look at
solid pick.
Niall again and pass again in the next pack.
Yeah. So like I said, domain drafter. We don't get dual lands with basic types in the other sets, except in Capenna they have them at rare. But other than that, But of note, if you do get a Triline in Capenna, that gives you 3 out of 5 domain just from one card. So
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to go for. I want to see if someone could put that together. Maybe a couple of those lands,
might come up,
triple
but
domain.
I know that's the thing in constructed that they're doing. They play some of the domain cards with because you could basically play turn one, turn two of those lands, and then by turn three you have all 5 for domain in
Yeah,
constructed.
yeah,
So
they
so
totally thought of
he's
that
looking
when
at
they
this
designed the
Shadow
sets.
Right Priest, which is most of the time this is a 2/2 for 2. It looks like he's switched over to the Deathbloom Gardener here. So maybe he's thinking he's gonna need to splash or might need to be in 3 colors. Based on the nature of these sets, like Dominaria is multicolor, uh, New Capenna is very multicolored. So he's picking up a piece of fixing here. So if he does end up green and splashing around a bit, he has that fixer that he can lean on.
Good card to speculate on. Nothing extremely exciting in this.
Yeah.
Some decent cards though in
Yeah,
this pack here.
Writhing Necromass is probably going to be a generically fine card if you're black. Flowstone Infusion is a cheap little interactive spell. Um, Not sure what else you would be considering here.
You want a 2-drop, you got Banalish Sleeper. Has some white and black cards already. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. If he's looking to really go in on white and black, could be the Banalish Sleeper. That card was very, very good in that specific white black archetype. Um, I would imagine he's feeling it's a little early to commit to that, but it's a 2-drop. If he's white, you might just play it. If he's white black, it'll be actively
One
good.
consideration is there tended to be a lot of go wide and lots of 1/1s hanging around at Dom U specifically, and maybe that won't be such a thing if we're doing Chaos, so that card gets better.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back if there were. I mean, in New Capenna, the go wide deck was the Cabaretti, which did not involve black. It was white, green, and red. Uh,
Yeah.
so a little torn
At
there.
worst, a
There,
2
there, there
mana.
might not be
3/1.
there might not be like uh, there might not be a defined go wide deck across this format. There usually isn't defined formats. It's usually just the colors do what they're doing, and you find some small synergies. So
Yeah,
he's
this
deciding on
pack,
his
he has
pick
nothing
here.
highlighted here. Soaring
He's
Drake.
just gonna take the 2/3 flyer. I think it was between that and the 1/1 flying that can gain death touch. Uh, Both are pretty medium. Soaring Drake did end up being uh, pretty good in some of the decks in Dominaria United, just because it was easy to cast and it was a way to get some damage in. So looks like he's looking at Argivian Phalanx here, potentially over the Flowstone, which he had initially highlighted. None of the other cards really too much of a consideration. I don't think anybody's going to be getting a Defenders deck here. Uh,
I was just about
yeah,
to mention that. If you get a chaplain, there are defenders. I'd like to see a chaplain
yeah.
give you a bird off an
There
offset
are
defender.
there's definitely Defenders in every set, but they're not focused. Like in this set, there are Defenders basically in every color except red, and there's like a lot at common. But you know, Wingmantle Chaplain's still a good card. So
Yeah,
take up the
I'm
shields here,
good.
really premium combat trick. So to me, that sort of signifies that none of the other drafters, at least, valued that card, and that is like a premium trick in a white aggressive deck. That's one of the best tricks we've seen for two
Yep.
mana uh,
Yeah.
in
Protection
recent
spells,
memory.
life gain, buff.
Yeah, so that might be a sign that a white aggressive deck is open. It's just now finding what color to pair it with, because the Love Song of Night and Day, the Argivian Phalanx, those are good cards for aggressive decks. So let's see what he picks here. Gitu Amplifier is really good in red blue, and red blue I think is maybe in these chaos drafts it's one of the more coherent strategies because it's usually based around spells in every set. He took the 2-drop Juniper Order Root Weaver. It looks like he's going to take the Shalai's Acolyte here. So in sort of what ends up being a chaos draft, a 5 mana 3/4 flyer often is a card that you play. Yeah, if you can kick it, even better. All
Let's
right,
see
so
what he takes here.
interesting here with Toxic Abomination and Phyrexian Espionage. Toxic Abomination is usually a card you did not want to play very much. Uh, it's good in aggressive decks, but black was really slanted to be a grindy deck that went into the late game, so Toxic Abomination didn't really fit in. And Phyrexian Espionage was a very good card, but I think he's thinking here, if I am going to be like a white-black sort of go wide deck, I just want 2 drops, no matter
Two drops.
no matter
Two drops
how
are.
bad it might look.
He's thinking that two drops are important, so that was the pick. He didn't need. He didn't want to look at the card draw. He only has two blue cards taken so far, so
Yeah, he has two blue cards, and I
I
mean,
don't mind
Phyrexian
that.
Espionage is pretty firmly a better card than Toxic Abomination in most situations. But I think he's thinking if I am a blue deck, I can find other draw spells. But it's a 2 mana 3/2. Like you know, if you have enough removal and if you just get on board with two drops, that's going to give you an advantage.
Well, after pack one here is keeping his options open. I see a few of each, four different colors here.
Yeah, and he's really not big. I mean, white is his most common color here, and I mean those green cards just came at the end. Those tortoises, I don't think he's going to be very interested in those. So here we are in Capenna, which is a multicolor set. We see two fixers here, two fixing lands. So card that stands out here is the Mage's Attendant. That card was quite good. It's 4/3
Yeah,
worth of
maybe we
stats,
can.
and the little wizard is quite irritating,
Make
and
disappear can also be a thing.
it's also a cat. So let's never be
Which one?
forgetting.
Oh, the mage's attendant. Oh yeah,
Yes, yes. Let's never be forgetting
the
that
cat
as well.
rogue.
Yes,
Cat
indeed.
rogue too.
Yeah. So I'm not
So
sure
we'll
what
do
else he
the
would be
cat.
considering here. Maybe a land. Riveteer's Charm isn't really looking to be the colors he's taking cards for so far. So it's kind of
Maybe
wide open.
attendant. Mhm.
Kind of wide open here. The Make Disappear is a good card. Uh, it was good in that format. Not sure how good it is in just generic sort of chaos draft. He's mousing over the mage's attendant here as time's ticking down, but he did end up with a dapper shieldmate, which is a better aggressive creature. It's a 4/2 that hard to attack through. So
Field
looks like
counters there.
he made a uh, very big statement there. I would say since the mage's attendant is more of generically good card, and the dapper shieldmate is just more of an aggressive card. So it
Yeah,
looks like
but on
he's
the
drafting towards a preference here to potentially want to be more aggressive.
shield counters were slightly better. They were better than they looked. That's about as much as I could say. They're annoying, and there were some ways to deal with shield counters in Capenna itself. But I wonder, thinking about the other sets,
As long as your
you kind of
power was high enough, which this guy's was at 4 power as an attacker, a shield counter usually just kind of was worth a card. Like it usually either got a card out of the opponent's hand or got a creature off of the opponent's board. Usually the shield counter traded
as
for a card
0.75.
almost all the time.
I think of it as 0.75 cards, unless you're on
There you
that
go.
three color double striker.
Yeah, so let's see what he's going here. So he's taking the attended. Which one did he take there?
Uh,
Trying to see which one he took there. Oh, he took the attended socialite, which is a two
A
mana
two
two
drop.
one. I think it's 2 mana 2/1, and it gets +1/+1 every time a creature comes in. So, um, there were a few
Interesting.
choices there. There was a kill shot. There was some other things, but I think he's saying, okay, maybe this green white is going to work since he did get those late white cards with green kicker, the 2-drop root weaver and the Shalai's acolyte. Now Mysterious Limousine is just a very 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 good card. Surprised that this early in the draft nobody took it because I mean I know it's 5 packs, but you can still speculate on a card as good as the Mysterious Limousine.
It might just be the double whites thing. People are scared. The first two drafters are scared of. But it's really a great card. I don't know about the socialite pick. Couldn't have been the best card in the pack if you played Capenna, it didn't perform that well. But
Yeah,
as you said, the Cabaretti wasn't the deck that really came together that much.
yeah. I think, like I said, he does draft with preferences. So once he decides what he wants to do, he's going to be very disciplined in that strategy. Even if we're sitting here thinking, is that the best strategy? But he's zeroed in on something that he thinks is going to be open. Also, right in these mega drafts, you often have to find your way into archetypes and color combos that other players are not going to want. We see in mega drafts past that there are certain color combinations that are more drafted, are less drafted, perform better, perform worse. We haven't really seen anybody with a white green deck in a mega draft really run the table, but that doesn't mean that he can't. That also probably means people might not be taking those cards. Here, it looks like a
Especially it
pretty
seemed
clear
like
Raffine's
these.
Informant. This is just, it was one of the best 2 drops you could get at common in that set. Just a really premium card. 2 mana, 2/1. Um,
I I think
smooth as you out.
really liked. I think he really likes two drops, which is obviously a good thing to prefer. Two drops are necessary, and he took the Raffine's Informant, so we're pretty solidly in white here with a question mark for the second color, as far as I
Yeah.
could see.
So there's one of those tri-lands that I mentioned before, but he doesn't have any domain cards. If he wants 2 drops, there's a very suitable backup agent there. Revelation of Power was a really good trick in that set in Capenna because there was lots of +1 counters and shield counters going around. In other sets, you're not always going to get the flying lifelink from that. I remember that was one of the cards where you comboed with those double strikers to kill people out of nowhere sometimes. But
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a 2 mana for +2/+2 trick with upside, which an aggro deck is almost always going to want. So I think he's looking at the fixing here just as smooth out things. If he does end up wanting to splash perhaps a blue card if he's playing white green, that'll help. And backup agent
He's
is
had
a very ordinary 2 drop. I mean, it fits the bill, but at the end of the day, it's very ordinary.
So he has the Bant Triland, right? The one
Yeah,
Spara.
yeah. Sparrow's headquarters. So he's looking here. Hold for ransom, which was a pacifism watered down here. Um, Looks like he's taking Botanical Plaza here. Just values the fixing. That card draws a card in the late game. If he is going to be leaning aggressive, that can replace itself late in the game once he's played out his hand.
Yeah, lands are definitely fine picks at this point.
Yeah, he
You have
did.
this would be his 20th card too, being lands. We're looking at 60 card deck. He obviously has to cut some of the things in there. Not sure how much the 60 card is going to be difficult to get to.
Yeah,
Usually isn't.
this is I believe it's our smallest mega draft at 5 packs, but they're still drafting 75 cards and playing about 30 something of those plus lands, right? They're going to have between usually 30, 35, 36 range spells. So that's still about 40 cards they're going to draft that are not going to be played. So looking here, if he wants to stick on white green, there's the decoy or the gardener. Decoy being quite a bit better card.
He's leaning towards white green. He's got two of those Hexbane turtles, which is two of the four green cards in the
Yeah,
pack if you take this decoy.
I
So
think that even in a white green aggressive deck, that card is just you know it's very very medium, if not worse than that. So there's a
sorry, I
Skycrier
forgot
here.
to say for like
Skycrier here is a
it's definitely
nice little 2 drop if he wants it. 2 mana 1/1 flying lifelink. Any type of buff you could put on it makes it a real threat. Uh,
and that activated ability too.
Yeah, so that activated ability, if you're the aggressor and you're emptying out your hand and your opponent's just playing 1 spell a turn and you're emptying out your hand, they're drawing a card. I mean, yes, it might draw them the card that they need, but it also might just draw them more cards that they can't cast, and you'll probably be able to cast everything that you draw. If you're the aggressor. Obviously, if you're a
Combine it with
control
shoulder.
deck, yeah, obviously if you're a control deck, you're not going to want you're not going to want something like that. But in an aggro deck, if you're using those cards faster than your opponent, right? If you have no cards in hand, your opponent has 3 or 4 cards in hand, and you're ahead on board. Yeah, of course you're going to draw cards. It just makes perfect sense here. I think he's looking at his creature's mana costs here if he wants to try the patch up or the Angelic Observer, but I don't think he'll have enough citizens. Broken Wings is about as premium a sideboard card as you can have though.
Yeah,
Looks like
we're
he's
going
going
to
for
be
the
seeing Kamigawa enchantments too.
Looks like he's going for the patch up, which is probably almost always just going to bring back 1 creature. So it brings back any number of creatures from your graveyard into play with a total mana of 3, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. It's like a 3 drop from your
So this, this,
graveyard.
this is an interesting pick here with this aura, the most wanted, which is just gives +2/+1 and makes treasures when it dies. Would be yeah. I was gonna say it seems surprising to take over kill shot. I know an aggro deck is not going to want kill shot as much, but you're not going to be ahead every single game, right? There's going to be games where your opponent is going to get on board first, and your opponent is going to have the threat. So you still need to be able to defend yourself. even if you are trying to be aggressive. So having a kill shot is quite fine. All right, so we're on to Kamigawa here, and it looks like he's opened a really really great one with Touch the Spirit Realm. So really good removal, about as efficient as you can get. 3 mana, gets rid of I believe it's an artifact or a creature. So it's not a non-land permanent, because a lot of these ones they hit non-land permanents. This one's just an artifact or creature, but that's still good. Creature's gonna be the one you're gonna be looking to hit most of the time.
The rare's not very playable. Invoke Calamity at 4 reds.
Yeah, a couple of those invoke cards were quite interesting, but that was not one of them. So yeah,
Might make a mono red player happy.
yeah, it doesn't look like he's gonna be able to wheel anything if he's on white green. There's not much he's gonna find on the way back here.
Yeah. Still speculating on the second color, it seems, though.
Yeah, well, a lot of his picks indicated that he's leaning towards green, but he does still have the black cards in there. So if he sees something that really pushes him one way or the other, that might do it. But there is a green removal spell here, which is what I would have my eye on. Uh, the Master's Rebuke.
Oh yeah, Master's Rebuke
Yeah,
works.
so that's just an instant speed, what we now call rabid bite type effect. So a one-sided fight, only your creature deals the damage, and it's as cheap as we get it. 2 mana, instant, nice one. Is there anything worth speculating to other colors here? Possibly
There's
black.
some solid cards for probably for other players. I'm looking at
Yeah,
Kami's Flare. Okay, I don't know if you can make an Okuba deck work like it did in Kamigawa, where you had a really focused strategy.
yeah. I mean, Okiba Reckon is just a good card, I think, in any context. Think of it as like
Drain two.
it's like a vampire spawn, right? It's kind of a vampire spawn. If
There
you
was a
remember that
really,
card.
really low curve deck in Kamigawa where you play those and get them back to play them more, bounce them, or
Yeah,
recur them.
yeah. It was. I think it snuck up on people as how good it ended up being in the context of that format. But I do think it's still just a good card overall.
Sure,
Um,
yeah.
so
Strain two
he
and get a 2/2 mass.
he did agree with the Master's Rebuke here. So Tales of Master Shishiro is a nice kind of top end card for these aggressive decks. You get 2 counters among your creatures, and then you get a 5/5 with haste at the end of it.
A
So
lot. It's a lot for 5 mana.
in an aggro deck, your 5 drops and 6 drops have to be really really impactful. But I would say that fits the bill.
Yeah, it's a lot for 5 mana if you think about it. It's like 7/7 stats, even vigilance.
Yeah, it gives vigilance. It allows you to push through damage, and again, it creates a haste threat. So most of those,
Yeah.
a few of those sagas got haste when they came, and those ones were among the better ones.
You kind of even give haste to whatever you buff. You give 1/1 haste damage, basically.
Yeah. So it's 7 power worth of haste. Well, it's 7 power that can attack, you know, immediately as it comes. So 1, 1, and then 5. So
Yeah,
looking
strong cards
here,
in Kamigawa.
we have a mana dork here that might be of interest to him. I think he's might not be familiar with this card because it doesn't get cast and limited very often. Might be
It's for constructing.
yeah. I don't know how much he played some of these sets because I know he did take a break from Magic towards the like about a year ago. So he might not have played these sets very much or at all. Um, like I
And
said,
mana dark there.
there's a mana dork. He might want the trick, the 1 mana trick, but he already has one good trick at least. Either way, choices are not super good for him.
No, not a strong pack here. Patchwork, it was a great. It performed so well, but obviously we're not playing Kamigawa draft.
Yeah, yeah. Patchwork was a premium build around uncommon, the Patchwork Automaton. So he is going to take the trick here. If he's aggressive, he said, I don't want a 1/1 that taps for green. Uh, that makes sense. So Light the Way is, I believe, you give a creature +1/+2, or you can bounce your own creature. Next one here with the Sunblade Samurai is nice. The Brute Suit was also pretty solid. Like the stats are really really good on that. It's about as efficient as we get for vehicles nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. Brutsuit was a surprise heavy hitter, and about a few weeks into Kamigawa draft, people figured it out.
Yeah, it just shows you the power creep because back in Ixalan, that card was at uncommon and it did not have vigilance.
It was the same thing otherwise?
Yeah, it was called Sleek Schooner, 3 mana, 4/3, crew one, uncommon, no vigilance. So
Uh,
times have changed. Uh, yeah,
Repel the Vile is an interesting one. It performed a bit worse than you would expect in Kamigawa draft because there's this low curve deck with things with less than 4 power a lot of the
yeah.
time.
It's
It was a good. It was sideboard against sagas a lot of the time. I saw
apparently it's more efficient if you destroy the evil than if you repel the vile. But
much more.
well, I
The
mean
evil has
this one does
to be
hit
booty.
4 power rather than 4 toughness, which comes up sometimes. Um,
Yeah,
I feel like in his type of deck, it's main deckable because a lot of the time you'll be able to attack through or use your tricks to get through the small creatures. But then when they play a 5/5, you're kind of stuck, and like sometimes your Master's Rebuke is not going to be able to kill a 5/5, but that will. So looks like
at
he's
worst he's
taken that.
sideboard.
Um, depending on what his deck, how his deck ends up looking, that could be a main deck card. We'll see. So there's another one here. Looks like he's going to take that. The Careful Cultivation was a good card, but again, if he's being aggressive, the Careful Cultivation is not where he would want to be. So it looks like he's staking his claim as a deck that wants to be attacking. They don't want mana dorks. They don't want you know utility creatures with low power. He wants power. He wants creatures with power. He wants creatures that can attack well, and he wants tricks and removal.
Can't exactly see the names of all the cards he's got, but he doesn't have too many permanents at 1 and 2 yet. A couple of those are tricks and stuff.
Yeah, I
He's
think
gonna probably want to pick up some.
I'll have some time. So
Another
yeah.
repelled vial. People really were repelled by it. Apparently,
Well, if he wants to repel it, he's attracting them more than he's repelling them now. But let's see what he decides on here.
Apprentice, not
So
bad
he,
at
he
all.
he did end up taking the Careful Cultivation out of that pack. That the aura that you could channel to for a little mana dork. Right. So
Yeah, hidden mana.
he's taking the 1 drop here. Iron Apprentice, 1 mana, 1/1. Uh, if it when it dies, it puts its counters on something, and it comes in. It gives you one up front. So
A nice card to have synergy with if you find any.
yeah, he doesn't have too much +1 counters from what I can tell. Uh, the Tales of Master Sashiro puts counters, not too much else. So another Careful Cultivation there. Based on how he waffled before he took them, looks like he wasn't too excited by them. They're very playable though.
Well, Grease Fang has he's got a unlicensed. No, what is it called? The limousine,
Yeah,
and
now
now
he
he's
now he's
working
picked
for
up the seven
second.
drop. I don't know if those are what he has on his mind here.
That
We'll see.
7 drop wasn't amazing. It didn't perform amazingly, but I think it's a really good card. It might be really good.
Yeah, so we're more than halfway through the draft, so we can pretty firmly say he's going to be white green here. But his green is still just not that great. He's got a few good ones, but he kind of backdoored himself into green without seeing any really really great green cards. But it didn't seem cut either
Yeah,
because he was wheeling a lot of okay green cards. So we'll see what Vow and Midnight Hunt have in store. Vow famously was a very bomb heavy stat, so maybe he can get a rare, a game changer rare here. That would be very nice for him.
good for him.
Be very nice for anybody.
Uh, if he's gonna cut all these cards, he does. There's only 2 packs left. He does have to find the on color stuff in the next 2 packs, or else he'll be struggling to make playables potentially.
Yeah, no, I think I
Yeah.
think I think once he knows what he wants to do, he'll be able to make focused picks. And I think what he wants
I'm
to do
interested to
is
see
is
what he
attack.
gets here.
Well, here's an Edgar and a. So there's two
Okay,
rares here because we have they generate packs as if they were in paper, which means you sometimes get a foil card. So he's got an Edgar here. By invitation only is a board wipe. So traditionally not what the aggro deck wants. Edgar might be a
2 really
card
good cards.
to splash if he's interested. Um, Heron of Hope is a fine common, but I don't think it's in consideration here. I think he's seeing
Those are two.
if he can splash this Edgar. That card's very very good.
I think he'll try. A lot of the fixing was in the prior packs, though. That's
Yeah.
one issue when
He
you find
he
enough color.
he might also settle on the board wipe. Like I mentioned before, when you took the kill shot, you're not always going to be flooding the board with creatures. You're not always going to be ahead. Sometimes your opponent is going to, pull ahead. Sometimes your opponent is going to wipe out your small creatures and have a couple big guys left, and you having that in hand can help you proceed.
It's more
So
than a board wipe, though. If you have more creatures on board, it's better.
yeah, that is also correct. So if you flooded the board and you have six creatures and your opponent has three, you can keep your best three and kill all of theirs or something like that. So a board wipe with a bit of flexibility. I think he's happy with that.
The invitation, okay.
Unfortunately for white green, this pack is quite dry. There's a trick there. +3/+3, reach and untap the creature. But
I'm
you know,
interested to see where that Edgar wound up. It's definitely going to make someone happy, I would say, because there's enough fixing, even if someone's not purely Orzhov.
it's either going to make someone happy or it's going to make somebody use a pick to make sure it doesn't get to their neighbor.
True.
All right, so he doesn't really want the trick, but the nurturing presence here could be okay. He highlighted it. Now he's highlighted the land. So maybe a nod towards a black splash here.
It's a land with a black pip on it, meaning Edgar would have been easier to throw in, but he doesn't know he's going to get that,
Yeah,
obviously.
that would have been an ideal follow up to Edgar, but I know the like you said, the by invitation only does have other uses, especially if you have more creatures than the opponent.
Yeah.
You keep your best X creatures and they lose all of theirs.
It's unfortunate pack for white players, which is what David's doing right now.
Yeah, so like the green trick and the white aura, not really up his alley. The green 5 drop was quite bad and definitely won't be something he wants. So this land here is speculative, but he's not missing out on anything. It's all quite poor. So all
The
right,
gold
so
cards there.
yeah, some nice gold cards there. Spore Crawler's a good aggressive card. I mean, it's a good card in any green deck, but a card you're just happy throwing into the red zone and trading with anything to replace itself. Um,
I like Sport Crawler. Yeah.
if I would have my eye on hopefully maybe wielding a ceremonial knife, really good in these aggressive decks because normally when you're aggressive you're lacking card advantage and that can give you some in the late game
And
because
even buff
um,
buff your all creatures.
yeah,
And
because unlike most things that care about you dealing combat damage to a player, that one doesn't. Your creature just has to deal combat damage. So even if it gets blocked, you still get your blood there. So that card did perform well, and I think he would be happy taking it if it came back, since there's not much else of interest to him here.
exactly.
All right, so he has a couple of choices here. Again, just sort of curve fillers, uh, nothing special. So you're looking at the
Well,
cloaked cadet. It's a card that can give you some card advantage.
Griff Rider is a card in his color because the only other white card here is Neville Gas Beguiler. You think he's going to take the cadet? Was that train? He draws cards, right?
Yeah,
He draws
whenever a
cards.
+1 counter is put on a human, draw a card. Only once a turn. So, but
Hmm.
I think he's just going for the flying. He actually doesn't have that much evasion yet. He has the 5 drop Shalai's acolyte, but he doesn't have a lot of other flyers yet. So, it's good to pick up.
I think that pick's fine.
All right, now he's got a couple nice picks. I think the 2 drop is where he's gonna end up. That card was very very good, and he
Yeah,
just
when your floor is a 2 mana 2/2, hard
okay.
to
Yeah, so it's between that and the Griff Rider here, just as another flyer. Um, I guess he's valuing evasion here over just a 2/2 that can come back with a boost later.
I thought he liked his 2 drops more. But I was
Yeah,
wrong.
it's pretty close. Darkskull Infantry was better in that set. It's probably a slightly better card overall, but the flying does give a boost here. Yeah, so this Radiant Grace wasn't great in its set, but he might just want to keep on with the flyers here. We'll see. Okay. It looks like he's going for the Radiant Grace, which is a +1/+0 Vigilance, and then when the creature died, I believe that came back as an enchantment that made all your opponent's creatures be tapped,
Yeah,
enter
it's a fun
tapped.
card. You didn't see it too played too much, but it seems fun.
Yeah, it's just the. I mean, It is only one mana, but it was still just not worth a card a lot of the time in that set. But again, in that set, the power level was ratcheted up very high, whereas in this set we have more, less focused decks, so that card might perform well. Another one that wasn't a high performer is the Allenbach Escort here. There wasn't really a great +1 counter deck, but he will take that. I'm surprised he didn't want the, I believe it was called the
Shield.
Shield Basher, that
I,
4-2
I
that
really like
attacks
the
with
shield.
Indestructible. Pretty reminiscent of
Yeah,
the Dapper Shieldmate, actually. Very similar card.
I quite like that card. These are the packs for him. The early packs of Val weren't showing him much for his colors, but you have like 3 green cards.
Yeah,
Or
so we'll
sorry, two
see.
green cards and a white card that are not terrible picks. I
In your
think the two
aggro
creatures are.
in your aggro deck, you don't want too many 6 drops, but this one might be just good enough to fit that bill. The Flourishing Hunter here.
Yeah, yeah. There are synergies with that card that made it even better in this set, but
Okay,
you don't
so
need the
so
synergy.
he's gone with the Bramble armor, which is that equipment, uh, +2/+1. So again, he's keeping his curve low. He's focused in. Um, like I said at the outset, I said once he decides what he wants to do, he's going to be very very focused in it. So he's going to make picks that sometimes might have you wondering or scratching your head a bit, but he's got a vision for his deck and he's zeroed in on it, and he's taking the card that's going to fit best in that vision of what he wants his deck to be, rather than maybe the best, what you would call the best card available in his colors. So
Get wins. They
he's
can get wins.
filling up on +3/+3 tricks here. He's taking the Snarling Wolf, a good little 1 drop, especially like I said, he's going to be he's telling us he's going to be an aggressive deck, so the 1 drop with a little pump ability, not bad. The Cloak Cadet came back. We'll see if it ends up making the cut.
One likes the hypnotist. Can't block. Where's the blood?
Yeah, I know that card. The blood decks were quite good, but even that card was usually didn't make the cut.
It's a
Okay, there's
gift of
another
fangs there.
Bramble. So the Bramble armor, if I remember, it's +2/+1. You get your first equip for free. I think it comes in attached to something, and then you have to pay 4.
I'll look it up. I know that was in 2 sets in a row.
Yes,
I
I
remember.
remember people were wondering why is it in both sets. We didn't want it in either. Um, it's
It
because
is. Yeah, you get the first equip for free, but it costs 4 to equip otherwise.
yeah, so pretty inefficient, but. If you're attacking and you are playing 1 and 2 drops and expecting them to trade well in the late game, you play that. All right, so here's a Briarbridge tracker. That's a very nice little rare there. Comes with a clue. Sometimes will be a four
Solid.
three. Uh, there's also Search Party Captain, which is I do like my creatures that draw a card when they come in, but the Briarbridge tracker basically draws a card when it comes in. Uh, so it looks
Yeah,
like
if you have any other
he's
tokens around it, stays as a
Looks
fourth.
looks
Fourth.
like he selected the Search Party Captain, perhaps on the basis that you don't have to pay mana to draw the card, and you're often getting a discount of mana, so it could cost less than the Briarbridge tracker sometimes.
Just got worse stats. I think the tracker is a clear better card
Yeah.
in this
Oh,
situation.
yeah. I believe so too. But he did have the Search Party Captain selected, so I was you know trying to get on his thought process of what might drive him to take it over the tracker. He's still deciding here.
He still might take it. I mean,
I think he's
he
scanning
does
his
switch
deck.
something.
I think he's scanning his deck to see if he has token makers here, since a 2/3 and a 4/3 is a very very different creature here. But he went with the rare. There's
Hey, look at
Ambitious
that.
Farmhand, really premium 2 drop. Join the dance, really good gold card that he's likely to wheel.
Yeah, that card was passed a lot during the dance. I mean, the first step is fine. The flashback is underwhelming for what you get for 5 mana, but
Yeah,
just for 2 mana.
yeah. The Silversmith was a very serviceable card too. Looks like he's taking Join the Dance, maybe just for the go wide here. I feel like it's something he's going to be able to wheel. Like how many people are going to be in green white, and how many people are going to be splashing that in their non green white decks. But sometimes if there's a card you really really want, even if you think it wheels, you take it to be safe. Um, you know, Farmhand is a creature that replaces itself and then gets an upgrade later. Really really great. Lets you hit your land drops, becomes a threat. but he might just want the tokens card here. Uh-oh.